Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Caitlin Becker and Ian Harding.
See, they know who you are.
Oh, what a surprise. Please don't collapse on me.
And I think you're good.
That's what I need, is this thing to just tank right as I sit in it. Yeah.
That would make for great television. We would all be sufficiently entertained.
Yeah, minus like my spine would not be entertained.
Oh, it's not that. You'd bounce right back up. You'd be totally fine. A little ice pack, you're good.
Yeah, would be good. Would be good.
We're starting this off on a great, great
Really
page
dark
here.
way.
Welcome. Okay, let's try this again. One more round of applause really quick. There we go. We're going to restart it. This is going to be
Thank you for
great.
Galen.
Welcome, Ian.
Thank you.
I know everyone is dying to talk PLL, or maybe that's just me, but we're here for a very important reason first. Not that
Yeah.
PLL is not important. We want to talk about lupus.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I noticed the that. Yeah.
No one has ever said, oh, okay, great, after lupus, by the way.
Yeah, no, very few people.
So I don't know if you guys actually know what lupus is, but even after researching it and knowing people who have had it, it is even hard for me to tell you what lupus is. And I think that's part of what makes the disease so frightening.
Yeah. Most of the doctors who are studying it and thankfully, getting closer and closer to eradicating it, don't really know what it is, which is one of the reasons they rebranded a couple of years ago and put this question mark in the middle. This looks like a very almost kind of funny logo, but what the disease is. It's an autoimmune disease that can attack any vital organ, pretty much any part of your body, and kind of constantly shapeshifts. It's just the nastiest, most sadistic disease that you will have for the rest of your life. It affects predominantly women and predominantly women of color, and my mother has it, which is one of the reasons that I, do a lot with the Lupus Foundation of America. And she's had it for about 20 years. And when she was first diagnosed, they said, just make sure all of your papers and everything is in order because you've got probably 7 to 8 years.
The life expectancy.
Life expectancy, yeah.
Not too long ago was very, very short. And it seems like in a relatively small amount of time that's expanded out a lot. I mean, they are making really great strides.
Yeah. And it's the good thing is that now it's not as much of a death sentence for some people. Sadly, it still is, but it's now quality of life in the sense of you'll live with it for the rest of your days. And my mother can live to be, in her 80s or 90s, but it's just as you progress with it, things can get worse. Like, for instance, she actually just recently had a flare, which is something that can come in many different forms. This one was just chronic fatigue, aching in all of her joints, and, some mild heart issues that she's had. I remember 3 Christmases ago, she had what we thought was a heart attack, and which is weird because my mother is, apart from ironically working in a cardiac clinic for years and years, she is very healthy, but she knew, she had one of these inclinations where she was checking her blood pressure, she was doing all kinds of other things, and she's like, this isn't a heart attack, but it feels like it. And so she went to the ER, and they said, no, you didn't have a heart attack, but it just seemed like you did. So it's pretty nasty. So I've try and do what I can. I can't get in a lab coat, because that'd be dangerous for everybody. But I can shamelessly sell myself to raise money for the actual heroes that are in the labs and doing the real work. So.
And talk to me a little bit about how you're doing that. I mean, I'm sure probably everyone saw, at least on social media, some Ezra Aria shirts sort of floating around. So are those some of the trying to harness that PLL fan base to really pivot things for a good cause?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I worked with a really wonderful company called Prizio, and they helped they have a t-shirt construction place in-house, which is really wonderful. They make really great t-shirts, and then I go out and tweet and do all that other stuff, and we raise money, and the proceeds go to the Lupus Foundation. And it's so shameless. It's just my face on a shirt, and people like that. And so and so that's really done well. And I did one with Lucy, and that made quite a bit of money. So we're we're excited to do more of that in the future. I'm thinking towards the tail end of this year, we're probably going to do another one just to, hopefully round out the year.
That has to be a very surreal moment for your mom to think that in this crazy world we live in, the son that she created can take a picture of his face, put it on a t-shirt or a pillowcase, tweet about it, which didn't even exist when we were born. And have that go to cure something that has addled her life.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's nutty. Yeah. She still gets like pretty, overwhelmed with the whole thing. Cause there's usually a gala every year in New York to help, raise more funds, but also to give awards to people that have helped, with the fight against lupus. And, I've been to that gala every year. And this last year I kind of co-hosted it. And at the very end, Whoopi Goldberg comes out and is like, hey, thanks for all you do. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Whoopi Goldberg. and my mom was like, what is this? Like, what is my life right now? So no, she's very proud. Meeting famous people aside, I think she's pretty proud of that at least.
And sort of to pivot off of all the good that you're doing for lupus research, I read that you actually even helped a fan of yours discover that she had lupus. I mean, doctors don't know what is going on here, but your average person often doesn't know what the hell is going on inside their own body.
Yeah, it's I barely know what it is. Like I'm sitting out here always and talking about like let's fight this horrific disease, and people are like, what is it? And I go, it's a very good question. But yeah, no, I met a fan who at a walk that usually happens in LA in September. I think it's happening again. I think it's the Walk to End Lupus Now. I think that's what the title is right now. And she came up to me and she said, "Oh, thank you so much for tweeting about lupus." And I was like, "Oh, sure thing." Because she was going through all these tests, and for a while they thought she had like meningitis, and which is actually something that my mother was originally sort of diagnosed with. That they thought this is like some sort of side effect of meningitis. And she was, I guess, reading her tweets in the hospital and basically suggested it to the doctors, like, have you checked me for lupus? And I think he was kind of like, like, no, I haven't. And lo and behold, that's what it was. So that feels good because sometimes, when you like essentially make out with somebody for a living, you feel like, what good am I doing in the world, really? Like, other than my own fulfillment. So that's, that's really good to be like, oh, that person, their life changed courses, hopefully, for the better with the diagnosis. I mean, clearly, like being diagnosed with lupus is not a better course, but
at least you know.
At least you know. So that was like, oh, okay, I'm worth something. That's good.
Now, your connection with lupus makes a lot of sense with your mother, but for other celebrities out there, do you think that you as a group have a responsibility to pick a charity, pick an organization, do something, like you said, if you're making out with someone for a living and you get paid handsomely and all the perks of being famous, is it then up to you to take your fame and try to direct it to a good cause?
I think absolutely. I mean, of course, there's always the, you'll hear from, I have not heard this from my publicist, who's lovely. She has kind of just let me go.
She's here, by the way.
She's here, by the way. Somewhere.
And she's lovely.
And she's lovely. No, she is. But some people hear from their publicists like, you know what, you should get a charity because you look like a shallow D-bag, But if I think growing up in DC, a lot of my friends went into the sort of save the world industries. They went into nonprofits.
I went to school in DC. We chatted about this earlier. Yeah. Everybody worked for a nonprofit.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are, doing such good work for the world and living in outer Slobovia because they can't live in DC because they're not making any money, which is a scam. But they, I was chatting with one friend and she would kind of get irked of all the celebrities that are like, I'm standing up for this thing. And A, they don't really know what they're doing, or B, they do that and then they go away and they don't really stick with it. But because I'll speak for myself as an actor, get to play for a living and you get to live this dream life, I think it is your responsibility to know what your part in the machine is, which is because kind of as I joked about earlier, because I'm not in the lab, like figuring out like, this chromosome is like the lupus chromosome. Again, clearly I don't know what I'm talking about, but like your job then is to do what you do best, which is bring eyes and money to a cause and help the people that are actually doing it. So I think, every celebrity should have one thing that actually makes sense for them, that they know about, that they can talk about reasonably, even though, I'm sitting here talking about like, what is lupus? I don't know. And really stick with that, because I think you can make an actual difference, I think.
And you're working with an incredible fan base. This guy's like, yes, PLL. You're nodding right there. Obviously, people are obsessed. I'm not talking about me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not talking about me in this case.
Oh, cool.
In the slightest. I've
You can talk about
never
you.
even seen the show. Okay. Speaking of PLL, since we're on the topic, you guys have an incredible fan base. When you got your first script and you're like, Mom, I got cast in this role.
Yeah.
It's a great role, but I'm kind of a creeper.
Yeah.
How do you go to your first day of work being like, I'm psyched to be here, but I'm like lecherous,
Yeah.
but in like a really adorable way?
I think you throw on like a lot of sweater vests. You look as young as possible. And then you also realize, like, when you watch the trial of various, like, I don't know how to get out of this one, but like people are like, it's love, and you go like, it's not. She's like 11, you have to look at it from that mindset of like, okay, no, this is love. And so love is different from like, I'm going to take advantage of this, like wide-eyed high schooler. It was like, we connected on a deeper level in a bar.
As 15-year-olds are apt to do.
As 15-year-olds do with grown men. And that's how you play it. You don't play it like, hey, yeah. And so like I just like went in the first audition and just like talked to the person like a person. And they're like, wow, they really got great
Not
chemistry.
like, my puppy's lost in
Not
the back.
like, do you want some candy, little girl? That's gross. Like, get in this white van. All right, so so that's how I told my mom about it. She's like, oh, great, all that good education went to good use.
The truth of the matter is, though, as creepy as the thought of Ezra and Arya's relationship is, I really don't like them not together.
Yeah.
So
Neither does a large chunk of a very vocal part of the world.
It's just not fun when they're not together.
Yeah. No. It's. I think.
So what are you going to do about that?
What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the words that have been written for me.
And those are.
And
well,
they are.
I'm just leading you down this path. Are they going to be back together?
I mean, one would think. I mean, I think the thing to remember about Rosewood, PA, or the land of the PLLs, is that they joy is fleeting. So like if anything positive happens, like, oh my God, they're back together, but like somebody's gonna die, or this thing's gonna come out of the woodwork and ruin everything and tear you apart. And so I think maybe that's also part of the draw of my relationship with Lucy Hale on the show, is that in spite of like something like things that would give normal humans PTSD and or like a raging drug addiction, they're they still have some coffee and like write about their feelings, so like they're still together. And so people are like, see, love is true. And I'm like, yeah, totally. I guess their love is strong enough to overcome like attempted assassination and all
just
that.
Psychotic things. Has there been one plot twist throughout your like tenure on the show that you've been like, that is by far the craziest?
I can't remember them. Like literally, there's things I've gotten to the point of they could say like, all right, so Ian, in this scene, you're going to be talking with Lucy, and then we're going to take a live rattlesnake and we're going to throw it at you. You're going to grab it, bite its head off, and spit it directly on the camera. And I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, so there's like nothing that shocks me, to the point where people, I had a friend that was very sick recently, and from his own
laughing.
No, he deserved it. By sick, I mean
Hungover?
There we go.
There we go.
But he's getting older now, so he had like 4 beers and was like dead. You know,
that is true.
yeah, it's a thing that I've learned. But so he was like, you know, nursing himself back to life, and he's looking at Netflix, and my, you know, first couple seasons of Pretty Little Liars, I think, is on Netflix.
Yes, it is.
And he's like, oh, well, I've never seen Ian do anything, so let me just, you know, let me just watch this show now. And now he's addicted.
Yeah.
And I was like, how does this happen? Like, you know, it just blows my mind. And so he was telling me at one point, he was like, wait, so what's the deal with like you being a professor? I was like, well, no, I was never a professor. I was a high school student, and then or a high school teacher, and then this happened, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, you taught at Hollis for a little while. And I went,
Yes, you did.
oh, I did. Didn't I? And he was like, yeah, in fact, season 3, episode blah, blah, blah. And I went, all right, Walter, you need to chill on that. This is really scary now. So no, he wants to watch it together at some point. But, and I'll get like re-educated. Be like, oh yeah, that did happen. What was your question from like 20 minutes ago?
I'm just
It was just rambling.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, nothing shocks me on this show.
Yeah. Everything
End
shocks
of
me on the show.
answer.
Everything shocks me. We're coming to a close for the show, and that makes all the PLL fans very unhappy.
Yeah. I don't,
Why are you doing this to us?
yeah, I don't know if we are doing that to you. There's like rumors around set. They're like, you know, there's gonna be like 47 more seasons, and you know, like you're all gonna die on this show.
Hey, in the old folks' home, like
Yeah, it'd be like
cruising up on a
damn
jazzy.
it. She's coming at me again. Like in their like, you know, their pudding or whatever they feed people. It's like an A or like a Jello thing, like chunks of like hands floating in it. That was morbid.
Hey, that's a show.
That's
don't
the
write
show.
it.
No, so you know, I don't know what October we will be done in October shooting this season, but I don't know what will be happening after that.
You're not going anywhere, correct?
Who knows?
Should there be many more seasons?
You know,
We just don't want you to die,
Yeah,
like Ezra, not you. But also, we don't want you to die. But
yeah, that'd be nice.
personally, we don't want Ezra to go anywhere.
Yeah,
I like him.
I-
Creepy as
I've
he
been
is.
told the sweater vests as he is. Although I haven't had a sweater vest in like a long time.
Well, because now she's legal.
Yeah,
You don't have to be his.
can't do like
You don't have to dress like Rick Santorum.
like throw out all these, you know, on sale specials from TJ Maxx and be like, you know, I don't know what I would do that. What one does after they throw off a sweater vest. But yeah, no, we'll see what happens at the end of this year.
Can you give me any hints? I mean, the show's coming back in just a couple of weeks. On what we're
Oh yeah, it is. That's why I'm here. No,
guy.
yeah, no, it's like the most sort of romantic season yet, to me at least, and lots of like lots of serious plot twists, which is like not anything new, but it's also gets a little bit crazier. Like there's just
I don't believe that.
like there seems like there's more blood, like that.
But you have to keep pushing the envelope.
Right. They're like, oh, let's just like sever this head over here. No, I'm kidding. But there's just like all kinds of stuff that happens, and it's pretty like the first couple of seasons it was all like essentially getting pestered and like threatened via text, and now it's people are dropping like flies, and you know you can't trust anyone.
I love that they made emojis a thing last season. It was like threat by emoji. That was
yeah.
great.
Yeah. So much so that like my parents do that to me now. Not threaten me with emoji, but I'll say things like, you know, oh, you know, got home safe from like, I don't know why my parents are wondering if I got home safe from a party. I'm almost 30, but like, you know, but they'll be like, they'll do the hand clapping things, and they'll do it in like all shades of to be like multicultural and everything. I'm like, all right, parents, you know, like the emojis, way to go. So yeah, where were we going with that?
I just like to let you go at this point.
I
Just
have like a
open
lot
up
of
the
coffee
door
prior to coming
and
here.
let you sort of run with it.
Hey, have you discovered cold brew coffee?
Yeah.
Also known as like meth. Yeah, that's-
Welcome to like 2 years ago.
Well, I live
Have
in a
you
hole
had
then.
the Stumptown Nitro? Mm-hmm. That stuff is
Yeah, it comes in like
crack.
a pint glass, and people are like, "You're having a beer?" You're like, "No, I'm having a coffee." Stumptown.
That stuff is crack.
You know.
You can buy it in Whole Foods in the can and
Yeah.
just
and then
just don't sleep for
goodbye.
days.
Yeah, sleep for a while for the month.
Yeah, cold
Yeah.
brew coffee.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's where we're at here in this conversation.
That's why I'm sitting here and like blinking and my ears are bleeding. I'm so caffeinated.
Are you guys caffeinated? Okay. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. No, they're not. That's a bold-faced
All right,
lie.
let's turn it over to our caffeinated crowd for some questions.
Cool.
Hi, Ian.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. My question to you is, when you first started out as an actor,
Mm-hmm.
what were some of your biggest challenges? Whether it be trying to memorize a lot of lines, trying to, doing different facial expressions, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. When I went to school for it back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then I immediately moved out after graduation to LA, and so I think that my biggest challenges was just, not knowing what I was doing. But I think that actually helped. Like, I just knew that what I was doing wasn't like saving lives, and I don't say that to like diminish it, but I just say that I'm going in, I'm gonna play around, do what I want to do, but essentially play make believe, the same thing that I did as a kid, except there are cameras, and eventually they'll pay me, and hopefully, and so honestly, like, I got this job very quickly out of school simply because I didn't know what I was doing. Like the very first day of the pilot up in Vancouver, this guy, as in the director of photography, came up to me and was like, "You should really watch. You're getting in her key light." And I was like, "Oh yeah, totally." And then like we did it again. And he came back. He's like, "Yeah, you were still in it." And then I basically like walked up to him and was like, "Hey, what's a key light?" And he was like, "Do you see that thing?" And like, it's just this big light. And he was like, "Now look at her face and step here." And there's like a shadow that comes over her face. I'm like, "That's you. She needs that. Camera's there. Needs to see your face. Don't get in it." I'm like, "Great. Now I know." And so I think the biggest challenge came sort of afterwards, of like really believing in yourself and not feeling like it was all a fluke. So that was hopefully that answered your question. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Is it more challenging for you to shoot a sordid love scene or one of the more physically demanding, like somebody's chasing me, I gotta jump off this bridge or off a ski lift?
Yeah. The ski lift that was entirely within a soundstage. I feel like the love scenes there's that kind of old cliche that they're not as exciting as one might hope, like you're literally going to town with a beautiful woman. Like, what's not exciting about that? And all my male friends from back home are like, what is not exciting about that? And honestly, you have to get like the sort of the angles right. For me, I'm covered in like body paint to like, trace on abs that I don't have. I'm completely hairless for some reason. And so like you're rolling around these sheets and like the sheets get stuck on the body paint. And so it comes off and then like suddenly it takes the sheet off of her and she's naked. They're like, "Cut, we can't be naked here. This is an actual porn," So it's
was ABC Family,
AB.
folks.
That's why we had to change the name, because that changed real quickly this last season. But yeah, so it's a whole new sort of set of challenges. Honestly, like fight scenes are probably a bit more fun, even though I've only had like one or two. They cut most of it, but
Ezra's
that's all
not
right.
much of a fighter.
Yeah, hence back to the sweater vest.
There we go.
That's
Do we have some more questions out here?
Well, hello, Ian.
hello. How you doing?
I've always wanted to say that if I met you.
Oh, hello. Well, hello. What is your name?
just Destiny.
Hello, Destiny.
Thank you.
That was like. I would say that one day to
Get
like
this man a sweater vest.
a wizard or something. I'd be like, "Hello,
Well-
Destiny," as he points me the way.
I like it, wizard or not. It's good.
Great,
It's good.
fantastic.
So, I just want to get back to the lupus part of things. Now, you said that your mother had it for a long time, and you probably grew up with her having that and whatnot. My best friend has lupus. And I actually myself have a history of cancer. And so we've kind of like supported each other, like going through, different medical appointments. And I've been to 1 million with her. Yeah. And like you said earlier, I've looked it up so many times and like you cannot understand it. It is just, it manifests in so many different ways. And it's really hard. She'll have hard days and a bunch of different things can get to her. And so I was wondering for you if somebody has a friend who has lupus, what would you say to them? What advice would you give to support that friend?
And actually, apart from my mother, I have a few friends that have different forms of it. The weird thing with lupus is it sort of calls into hyper focus the thing that we already sort of fear as people, which is a sudden change and a sudden bad thing happening. But with lupus, it's guaranteed, more so than it is for me, who's like a quasi healthy guy. And so the best thing that I could say is, apart from just basically doing your research, knowing what works for you, like my mother regulates a lot of her flares by just eating very healthy. And she's learned that UV rays and the sun are very detrimental to her. So she has, she'll walk into a building like this and wear SPF like 1,000, because she just knows that that's going to aggravate her lupus. So it's doing little things like that and knowing that you can do it, but then also it in some way from, again, because I don't have it and I don't want to speak out for somebody, it feels like you've been given something that's really going to suck. And you've been given not a death sentence per se, but a definite weight to carry. So you need to live your life. And the moment that you sort of accept that victim mentality, I think that's when it really gets you. And again, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a psychologist, so it's hard to say like, just keep optimistic and everything will be all right, because that clearly doesn't happen for everybody. But the thing that my mother has done is, she has said like, I'm gonna see my grandchildren eventually, and I don't have time for this something or other. I don't know if I can say that on I didn't ask you before. Can I drop
say whatever
slurs? She basically said like, I don't have time for this shit. And so she says, I don't have time for you, Lupus. And so as a result, she has lived her life every day, because tomorrow could be horrifically different. So the best thing that I could say is, trust your doctor, listen to your body, and live, because you're not guaranteed the next 24 hours, which I think is kind of everybody too. But obviously with lupus, it's a bit more extreme, if that made any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just to sort of add to that, I think you and your friend are doing a lot of what one would want to do with someone who has a friend that's ill. Just support each other. I mean, you're stronger as a group than you are as one. So I think you're already doing it. Yeah.
Because and I know this is so easy to say coming from a healthy person, as far as I know. But you have to find the amazingness in your tragedy, which seems like a dumb sentence to say, but you've probably, again, completely talking on my backside here, you've cultivated this friendship of support, of understanding through a tragedy. And I think that's how you get through it. That's how, because if you look at, oh God, look at how much my life sucks, then there's no lesson learned, there's no change created. But my mother has been able to have various things happen to her through her life because she's had to be more healthy because she's unhealthy. She's traveled around with me doing lupus. I know, again, that sounds horrible, but like, she's seen the world. Something as minute and as shallow as she has great skin, because she's older. I won't say how much on television, but
spare you.
Yeah, we'll spare that. All right, yeah, I know. She's very young. But people are like shocked when they learn how old she is, because she's so youthful and vibrant because of this crappy thing that happened to her. So I think again, it's kind of easy for me to say because I'm not constantly being hospitalized, but I think that's kind of what you have to do. You have to find like, where's the joy in this tragedy? But I'll get off my high horse now.
Any more questions out there?
No, shut up, kid.
Hi, Ian. I have a quick question. I heard that you're originally from Germany. My wife is actually an aspiring actress from Hamburg, Germany.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of her biggest challenges has been this culture shock and kind of a language barrier. Did you have any kind of cultural or language barrier that you yourself had to overcome to be an actor?
Yeah. Oh no. Did you have more to say? I don't
No,
want to cut you off.
that was
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
So no, I was born in Germany originally because both my parents are in the military, and so the U.S. military, and so I was born there and then came here as a very young age, at a very young, whatever, it's the same. And no, I didn't have the culture shock coming from there, but I had the culture shock of just coming from anywhere in the world to Los Angeles. That's always a culture shock. And so that overcoming that was just simply, oh, you can slip into like some craziness out here. And you have these like sentences that'll come out of your mouth that you go like, wow, I don't actually care about this, but I think I should because that's what you do in Los Angeles. So, yeah, I think honestly just sort of remembering that what you are is what is the selling point and what is unique. That's sort of how I guess one overcomes culture shock. Or getting a visa, which is probably what you're more concerned about. But there's, there are ways of sort of overcoming that. I don't know. I didn't have to deal with that. But sorry, what a crappy answer I'm giving you right now. No, I'm awesome. It sucks to, No, Hamburg is an awesome place. It was just there. Just there. Yeah.
We'll just let it.
I don't.
And Hamburg.
I'm like, I wish I could get into like, well, actually, if you take a visa and you go to the visa department, clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. There is no visa department. Is there a visa department?
I don't know.
Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think we're just going to wrap it up here. But before I let you go, since you brought up the whole LA scene and stuff like that, how do you guys on set seem to stay so grounded? You all look like you're the best of friends. You're having such a good time. And you don't have that sort of catty, scandalous, those types of gossip stories that seem to come out of really popular shows, particularly popular shows with young casts. Everybody seems to like each other.
Yeah. And that is like pretty true. I mean, I think that, there is, and naturally when you're on set with each other all day long and you're supposed to be emotional, like as a job, the tensions can run high and people do get into spats and everything, but we haven't had any, like, I'm not, like, they, as in the lead actresses, will all be on set at the same time. There's no, like, come get me in my trailer because I can't stand to be next to so-and-so. And I don't know what that is exactly. I think maybe it's just an actual like gratitude for having the job. Maybe this is all happening and I'm just really dumb and I don't see it. But no, like everybody seems really chummy and has managed to not go down that road because I think everybody has seen around them, especially like, I know Lucy and Ashley have been in the industry a long time, and Troyan's father is a very big producer, and so she grew up seeing what happens when you mix, youth, beauty, and money, and it usually equals rehab. And so, thankfully, we have all kind of like learned that lesson, and nobody's dating each other.
Is that the secret?
I think so. Like
Nobody's dating each other?
No,
Has it ever gone down that way?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Not
come
like,
on.
Maybe it's all I'm missing out. Like I just like didn't. No, I never had that happen to me. And I think as a result, like we come to set, we have a great time, and then I'm like, see you next week, and then we go to the random places that we all live and live a life. I think.
Sounds much easier than actually living in Rosewood, which sounds like hell.
Sounds like move. Like the property values must be through the floor. Just like, well, this is the town square where somebody died in that clock tower, and like somebody died in this house. That house blew up over there. That's that stalker guy. I don't know.
It's going to be the final season. Everybody just like packing up, moving vans, and like, screw this.
Like we're all sitting there trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, but now, like, I love those group scenes where we're all like, but is it this or like, is it this? And then one of us just goes like, wait a minute, can we time out? Let's just leave. Like, screw this down. What a little hellhole.
Thankfully, no one is actually smart enough to realize that character-wise.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we still get more seasons of PLL, which is coming back in just a few weeks.
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, for more information on Lupus Foundation of America, go look it up online. Can't promise you there's any answers, but the more you know and the more questions you ask, the closer we are to finding a cure.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for being here.